one of India's most successful, and I say that slightly tongue-in-cheek, most successful exports, of course, is the issue of organised crime. And it has really hit, particularly North America, but particularly we see it in California and we see it in Canada. I don't think it's a coincidence that these are particularly the areas that have the largest Sikh diasporas. Now, the link there is obviously it's not the Sikh community behind it. I think it's just a lot of this organised crime are deliberately targeting the Sikh community. We do know that, for example, that the Bishnoi gang specifically, and it's not just exclusively the Bishnoi gang, there are other gangs as well coming out of India, but they do have a particular interest, let's say, in attacking the Sikh community. And as we say, we do know that they are likely proxy criminals acting on behalf of Indian intelligence and, by extension, the Indian government. So again, it's not surprising. But what I think what is quite shocking, but it's also quite comforting in the same breath, is how many resources are now having to be expended by Canada particularly, but it's not just Canada, the US is the same. This is a multi-billion-dollar investment required by the Canadian government to tackle this endemic exploitative crime wave. And this is a crime wave driven primarily from India. And again, this is money. These are multi-billion-dollar investments that otherwise, these are schools and hospitals that are now not being paid for, or more nurses and doctors, or whatever it is. In other words, this is money having to be diverted to deal with an issue that's coming in from overseas. Again, it's transnational oppression in just a different form. And that in itself, I think, speaks volumes. And of course, it does have a huge impact, a huge indirect impact, because again, it's not just a direct impact on those who are suffering directly from this crime wave, from these extortion rackets. It's the indirect impact. Firstly, there's the opportunity cost of that money. That money, as I said, is diverted away from more positive aspects of building hospitals, building schools, etc. But also, it has an impact on society as a whole. Firstly, of course, there's just the general living in fear aspect. There's the whole communities, and it's not just the Sikh community, it's just the community as a whole in Canada now start to live in fear. Now, what does that fear breed? It breeds hatred, fear, division, etc. And again, this is another great export from the BJP government. For some reason, it's deeply successful in exporting fear and division.